So Dan Lanning, of course, came from Georgia. Most of his recent work was in the South, whether that was at Alabama or Memphis, but he's been all over the country in terms of his coaching. The Auburn position is, despite some of the recent struggles, what I think most people would consider to be a top 15 job in the country. Dan Lanning's been linked to that job through rumors. I don't know that there's anything of substance there, but he had something to say about it.
Yeah, just to start, I think the rumors is probably the right way to communicate. I don't think that was, some people, it was cited as a sourced report, but I question the sourcing in that pretty heavily. But Dan, I think Dan wanted to have an opportunity to address it, by the way. Like I think he was confused by it, and by the term mutual interest, because by everything I've heard, there really wasn't any. But you understand how that works these days with the way unfortunately, journalism has kind of devolved. But I thought really answered that question in more depth than I would have even expected. He spoke for about a minute and 20 seconds on the topic, which is a lot more than typically you get. And I thought he was really candid about sort of what he perceives as the circumstances in Eugene, about how, I think some of the quotes he gave that really stood out were, the grass is not always greener somewhere else. And he said the grass is damn green in Eugene. Made it very clear that he and his family want to be here. He said he's got an 11-year-old son who's lived in 8 different states. Moving to a 9th doesn't sound particularly attractive, and also made the point, which I think I know won over a lot of the fan base, of Oregon historically is a place that's been good to be at, but probably not very good to leave. And I think that, I'm sure, sat well with some fans that are having a little bit of PTSD. Like, I had a couple of buddies text me, on Sunday and on Monday morning before Dan's press conference, of like, gosh, is this going to happen all over again? Because this, the last 2 head coaches who were here left very abruptly for jobs in that part of the country. Willie after kind of a up and down season, Mario after, I think, a pretty impressive 4-year run. There was a sense of like, gosh, this kind of a letdown of like, we're doing really well. The season's going great. Is this really going to happen again? So I know Oregon fans were thrilled with kind of the tenor and the words that were said regarding what's going on. And I think it put to rest that one for most people who read the transcript or watched the video. I know others will say he didn't explicitly say, I'm not taking the Auburn job, but I think anybody who can use some deductive reasoning, just some basic common sense, can determine it doesn't sound like somebody who's taking that job who's overly interested in leaving Oregon right now.
Yeah, and I don't in any way question Dan Lanning's confidence in taking on any job in America and believing that he can succeed there. And so I'm not saying that he's taking this into account, but the last 2 coaches that did leave Oregon went to those other brand name programs, and things aren't going so well for Mario Cristobal. It's very early in his tenure. I'm not going to make any judgments on what he can accomplish there.
Yeah.
Willie Taggart obviously didn't work out for him at Florida State, and he's not been able to recover from that from a career standpoint. So, yes, it's not always greener on the other side. Absolutely. All right, Eric Scopel here from Duck Territory 247 Sports. Washington takes on Oregon in Autzen Stadium on Saturday. Eric, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, no problem. I'm sure we'll talk soon, maybe before the Utah game.
Absolutely.